Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thank you for clicking on yet another Pokemon Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire Wi-Fi battle. It's your boy, Brain here, featuring the one, the only, TQ. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce the name because I know I will butcher it, so let's go with TQ. I'm using a similar team that I've been using in my past videos. The only different thing is Mamoswine is on board instead of the Dragonite. But anyways, let's jump right into the battle. Just like many of my other videos, Landorus is in the lead here. I really gotta find a different lead Pokemon, but Landorus is just too good at what he does. And setting up them Stealth Rocks is what he does best. So I go for the Stealth Rocks as my opponent goes for the Ice Fang. And as you can see right now, if it wasn't for my Intimidate, my Landorus would have been O-Code. So now my opponent gets a speed boost. So I think I want to preserve Landorus for another turn in the battle. So I'm going to go ahead and switch out into my Bold Nature Clefable. So my opponent goes for another Ice Fang. I guess he was predicting me to stay in. But Clefable takes this like a champ. Barely any damage on Clefable. So next I decide to go with a Moonblast as my opponent decides to switch in to Magnezone. And I think my opponent right now, he's thinking he did the right play. Obviously being a Steel type against a Fairy type. But as you guys can see, the Moonblast does a decent amount of damage to this Magnezone. On top of the fact that this Clefable carries Flamethrower. So I decided to go with Flamethrower for the obvious reason. But if it wasn't for the leftovers from the previous turn, this Magnezone would have been KO'd. And I know my opponent didn't see the Flamethrower coming because the Magnezone went for a Magnetize. And I mean, he obviously told me after the battle that he was predicting me to switch out, because he didn't know that your boy's Clefable melts steel. So on the next turn, I decided to go with Moonblast. I mean, if the Magnezone were to stay in, I know it would have killed it. But if something were to switch in, I know that a Stab Moonblast would have done the most damage. Like I said, to anything switching in this case, the Dusclops. So now, I'm assuming that the Dusclop carries Will-O-Wisp or something along those lines. But my Magic Guard Clefable, it doesn't really matter. So I take this opportunity to set up Calm Mind, since I honestly think the Dusclop cannot do nothing to Clefable. So on the next turn, I decided to go with the Moonblast, just trying to scout exactly how much damage my Moonblast is doing. It did somewhat, nearly 50%, as my opponent goes for a Confusion Ray. And that's alright with me because I know my Clefable is mentally tough. No, it's not. I mean, I waste my turn now as my opponent goes for a Pain Split. So I try again, trying to go for another Calm Mind as my opponent switches out into his Beedrill. I mean, at this case, I am worried now since I know this Beedrill will outspeed my Clefable. But like I said, I mean, this Clefable is mentally tough and it's gonna come through. Ooh, it's not gonna come through again. So I had enough. I mean, I've gave Clefable plenty of opportunities to, prove itself of being mentally tough, but obviously she's not. So anyways, I decided to switch her out because I'm predicting a Poison Jab coming through. So I go into my Landorus, getting off the Intimidate off on this Mega Beedrill. And this is where your boy TQ starts making plays, because I think he predicted me to switch out. So instead of going with the Poison Jab, he ended up going with the knockoff, knocking out my Landorus. But that's alright, Landorus already set up the rocks and got off an Intimidate on this Mega Beedrill. So I switch into my Focus Sash Mamoswine. At this point I was debating whether to go with the Ice Shard or the Icicle Crash. I didn't believe the Ice Shard would kill the Mega Beedrill, so I just went with the Icicle Crash as he goes for the U-turn, breaking my Sash, sending in his Dusclops, frisking me a little too touchy on my Mamoswine. But anyways, I go with the Icicle Crash, bringing the Dusclops to, around the 40% HP range. So now I go with the Earthquake. I mean, I didn't want to risk missing the Icicle Crash. It was a smarter play, I guess, or the easier play to make, as my opponent goes into Magnezone, taking a little bit of damage from the Stealth Rocks. And now it's an easy cleanup for my Ice Shard, taking out 2 Pokemon back to back. Mamoswine on a roll. Woo! Nature Boy. So now my opponent sends in Sharpedo. Back to square one. So I want to preserve my Mamoswine, so I switch out and switch into my Azumarill. Full HP invested. I just want to see exactly what this Sharpedo is going to do, and other than that, I know that my Azumarill could take the hit. So, unfortunately, he gets the defense drop off the crunch, but there go them leftovers, yum yum yum. So this Azumarill has pretty much, I guess you could say, like the original attack moves, the Superpower, Aqua Jet, Belly Drum, and Play Rough. I try to knock out the Sharpedo this turn, but I mean, he goes with the Protect as I try to go for the Superpower, but I guess I'll wait another turn. Anyways, next turn my opponent goes with Waterfall. He does a decent amount of damage. I mean, obviously my defense has been dropped, and son of a bitch, he gets the flinch. And this is where I start to believe that Leftovers is a better choice for Azumarill instead of a Citrus Berry, as my opponent goes with a Waterfall this turn and does not get the flinch, as my Azumarill lives with 9 HP. So now I get to do what I tried to do last turn. I mean, I don't think I tell you guys this, but this Azumarill has been hitting the weights as he goes with the Superpower, just knocking out this Sharpedo as I hit him with the flex, hit him with the flex. That's an old song right there. But anywho, I get that leftover boost back, as now my opponent goes back into his Beedrill, the Kaiba, but in this case I'm the Yugi boy. And for all you Yu-Gi-Oh fanatics, you already know what happens when Yugi and Kaiba face off. Your boy Yugi always comes through. How? I don't know, but he just does. I try to go for the Aqua Jet, but he goes for the Protect. That's alright. I mean, like I said previously, Beedrill's very fragile. Usually they just go for Protect just to scout what move you're gonna use. But anyways, he cannot Protect twice in a row as I go for the Aqua Jet, knocking out his Beedrill. So now my opponent goes into his shiny Alakazam. At this point I know Azumarill is not gonna live much longer, so I just decided to use Aqua Jet, you know, just get the damage in right before I get knocked out. But you already know your boy Azumarill did his job, knocking out the Sharpedo, the Beedrill, and doing over 50% to this Alakazam. So now I end up going into my Mega Pidgeot. So now I'm thinking I'm a badass over here with this Mega Pidgeot, thinking I'm gonna live a Psychic, but my opponent goes and Thunder Waves me, you know, just cripples my Mega Pidgeot as I get the Paralysis this turn. But you already know the Paralysis is only one and done when it comes to Mega Pidgeot, as I go for the Hurricane on the next turn, but my opponent goes for the Protect. But that's alright, because no amount of Parahacks or Protect is gonna save you from the Hurricane season. So I send this Alakazam flying through the air like if it was Team Rocket, just taking it out, as now he switches into his Garchomp. So I obviously know that this Garchomp is gonna outspeed me, you know, probably might Stone Edge me, so I just decided to hit him up with that quick attack. Whap whap! He never saw it coming, but I mean, whatever, right? I did some kind of damage before going out to this Dragon Claw. So next I send in my Clefable. I totally forgot that this was my opponent's last Pokemon. As he goes for the Dragon Claw, it's unfortunate that he locked himself into that move. But I mean, it is what it is. I go for the Moonblast, taking care of the Garchomp, and wrapping up this battle, getting another win for Yugi over Kaiba. But anyways, that was a good game, TQ. I really had fun playing you. But like always, guys, I just want to say thank you for watching my videos. Please feel free to leave me any comments down below, or send me an email, you know, in regards to a future video that you guys may like to see. But please stay tuned for my next video. It's going to be a rematch against your boy TQ. Like I said, guys, thank you for watching, and like always, peace.